We'll see.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Ain't made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Ain't made no rain from the track when we.
Hey, now it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert. I'm joined as always by JD Bogadoliva, and I want to make mention that we are a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Get all your show reviews, all that stuff. Go to voicesofwrestling.com. Go to flash@patreon.com for all that stuff. We used we use our older intro because JD and I decided to get our own StreamYard accounts. That way, we're not leeching off of our buddy anymore. And we have not uploaded everything just yet. My computer took a shit, so we're starting off hot today.
Did I have the wrong intro again?
Yeah, so we were supposed to have the one with the Voices of Wrestling intro on it.
Oh shit! God. Just unplugged my headphones too.
That's funny. I have had. Okay, well, JD's plugging in his headphones. I have had.
Jesus Christ, man, we're off. Like this show is born under a bad sign today.
Yeah. This show is starting off hot. We don't have the right software. We didn't have the right videos. We didn't have all that stuff. And I worked right up until the minute I was supposed to come on, because my phone is just like nonstop. And I told everybody they just got to leave me alone for a little while. So it's been a heck of a week here. So last week I think we left everybody on a cliffhanger about this top secret deal that I had going on.
Oh,
that
yeah,
I could talk about. So we'll start the show off with that. And I think I was in the Discord and I was in Slack and a couple other places. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've already seen this. But so last week I was notified right before I went on the air that I had to go out to a location to meet the Secretary of Defense. And I was just like, why? Like, what did I do? They're like, oh, well, you're getting recognized for outstanding performance. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a good thing. I was like, well, what did you guys tell them? They go, well, you'll find out when you get there. And I was like, well, just let me, is any of it true? And they go, yes, it's all very true. And so they said some nice things about me, which was very cool. And it was on the same day that I was celebrating 20 years in the Air Force. And so that would just happen to be like a happy coincidence. So I know I said something ominous last week, but I was not supposed to say that the Secretary of Defense was here, but then it ended up getting covered on the news, like on Friday night. And so like the local news, everybody had it. So, and my pictures all over like the DOD Facebook accounts and all that stuff from meeting the secretary. So there you go. That's what I was doing last week that I could not talk about.
Mike, I'm so proud of you. Like for that, I legitimately, from the bottom of my heart, one of my dearest friends, very, very proud of you for this. It's a huge accomplishment. Now, I want you to tell the people who are listening to the show what your chief told you before this meeting.
Yeah. I was given strict instructions not to ask the Secretary of Defense about aliens, and I abided by that. I didn't do any of that. I was not a complete embarrassment. I did not ask about the aliens. Although I get the feeling he knows. Like he just seems like a guy that would know. And he knows where they're hiding. He knows which contractors have them, and where they're moving them to next because we're on to them.
That is, dude. You texted us that in our buddy, and you're like, I'm meeting the Secretary of Defense, and the chief specifically told me not to ask about aliens. I was literally in class, looked at my Fitbit, and could not stop laughing, and could not tell the kids why I was laughing. So
yeah,
thank you for making my day last week. And seriously, on a serious note, congratulations. That's a hell of an achievement. And I do hope that someday we learn about the aliens.
I hope that someday I'm like important enough that they'll just tell me. Just like, look, Mike, you can't tell anybody else, but we're going to tell you.
And that's why they're not going to.
No, they're not, because they know that I'm going to be immediately in like our group chat. But
exactly.
Right here.
Mm-hmm. I will get a text 5 minutes after you learn, because I assume Ashley will go first, and then I will be second to know that the aliens are in fact here.
Yes. That absolutely is going to happen. But like I said, I've had a hell of a week. I typically do a format for the show. And once again, this month, it's been a very busy month. Very busy, like 6 weeks.
Fucking
I
A.
have no format. We have a couple of topics that JD and I just kind of tossed around, but you, the audience, I want you guys to chime in. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. Throw some questions our way. Throw some super chats our way, and we'll tackle whatever you guys want to talk about, man. But how was your week, JD?
Busy. Finished up. I finished up grad school, straight A's, second semester, and then we started the summer session right away. So I have 9 hours over the summer. I just have to knock this thing out, man. I just gotta get it done. Uh, I made a I made a big decision that I'm going to tell you before I tell everybody else. Remind me after the show, and then I
Okay.
don't want to speak it into existence quite yet because I'm not quite ready to tell everybody. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you this first, and it's nothing important. It's just something important to me.
Right.
Otherwise, mental health wise, think I'm doing good. I think everything is going good. I had one of our security guards told me that I looked clean today.
Huh.
That's what the kids say is cool with the headband and the hair slit hanging over the headband. So I texted my wife immediately and says I have bad news. The headband is staying for the rest of the summer. I'll cut my hair and get rid of the headband when next school year starts. Because I had someone grab me in the hall and go, JD, we got to talk. And there's this older guy in my department. I said, what's up? He goes, what's with the headbands? I said, I don't know. I just kind of feel like wearing them because I've been doing this every day for the last 2 weeks. And he's like, are you trying to make a stand against the administration? I said, no, I get along with our administration. I said, just, I don't know, man. Our jobs are boring. I'm trying to have fun. And plus, I'm
Yeah.
in the t-shirt shop every day dealing with like ink and and pressure washers and stuff like that. And it's messy. So, I don't know, man, trying to have some fun. And apparently, when you're trying to have fun as a teacher, it gets people all wonky. So, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. You're kind of like in that mode where like, teachers are not supposed to be fun. Like I don't think like they want someone to be like the fun teacher, but that's kind of like because you're not even Mr. Oliva, right? You're just JD at school.
It depends. Some of the I didn't want to necessarily be JD, but when I've been JD with the wrestlers for the last 8 years, and they walk in the first day of school and like, JD, what are you doing here? So like that's how my and that spreads. So like the younger kids typically call me Mr. Oliva, and then they get into the second year of graphics, and it's like, hey, JD, what's up? Which is funny because
Yeah.
the other teachers come in my classroom, they go, hey, JD, I have a question for you. Like, I don't even care. I would rather be called by my first name. That's weird because no one has ever. I'm sure people have called you Gilbert your whole life, right?
Yeah,
Like,
just playing sports. Like Gilbert is kind of
yeah,
like what my name is. Yeah.
I have never been referred to by my last name ever. It's always been
Hmm.
JD because I just have two letters. It's easy. I'm
Yeah,
JD.
yeah, it's much easier. And in football, your name's on your actually in my high school, we didn't put the last name on the back of the
Oh, we
jerseys,
did.
but we had it on our jackets and the other stuff. But we weren't like a very prestigious school, so you had to give that jersey back at the end of the year, and somebody else got to wear it next year. That's
Mm.
kind of how our school was. So we didn't actually have our names on them, but that was the mentality behind it. In baseball, I played baseball from well, they called it midget league back then, but I don't think you can say that anymore. But I think it's
Mm.
called coach pitch now. But I played from coach pitch all the way up to my freshman year, and I always had my name on the back of my jersey, and it was always just Gilbert. So that's kind of what people called me.
You know what I had on my Letterman jacket instead of I had JD.
He's JD. Yeah,
It's just JD. Like so, whatever. I could care less if people call me
yeah.
that. So it's fine.
Well, my airmen at work, they call me Master Sergeant Gilbert, Sergeant, or Sir, and I'll have nothing else because we got to stick with protocol, my man. At least in the
You're
military, a little bit different.
you're in the military. I'm teaching kids how to make T-shirts and use Photoshop and some video
Yeah.
stuff on occasion. You're getting awards from the Secretary of Defense. I'm speaking to people from Huddle. Like it's like not even we're not even in the same universe, man.
Yeah. But we're bringing up young people, and hopefully they'll listen to us, and hopefully
be
we'll
first.
continue to be successful.
That'd
Hey,
be a
so
first.
I wanted. Hey, did you see that? I know you didn't watch Backlash. I watched Backlash. I did a recap of Backlash over on the Patreon, and then I eventually released it on YouTube. So head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. You could have heard it there first. I also did Brace for Impact over the weekend, and then JD and I we did an overtime on Sunday night where we kind of like the main topic of discussion was the fallout of the Shadow Man episode because
Oh yeah,
last Shadow Man was quite polarizing last week. It's
quite.
probably my favorite episode we've ever done. I love it because nothing's ever been that polarizing before, and I think that's awesome.
I'll say this. No one has ever shut me up on my own show quite like the Shadow Man did. So that in itself, very impressive.
Yeah, yeah, and I had a bunch of texts from several different people, and we talked about it on Patreon, but a bunch of different texts, and a lot of them said one word or one name, Jinder Mahal with exclamation point and question marks after it. So I knew as soon as he said that we were going to take a lot of heat, and boy did we! And I like good heat. I think people were having fun with it.
Yeah, because people know us. But I thought I
Yeah.
still was hilarious that the Shadow Man's solution to AEW's problem was to sign more ex-WWE talent and to give Jinder the World Heavyweight
It
Championship.
wouldn't have been so bad, but he said gender, and I
I
think
know.
I think that's what set everybody off. But
It was the hey, we didn't talk about last week that since we have no format,
yeah.
you texted me. We never talked about Gable Steveson.
Yeah, yeah. So go ahead. So WWE released Gable Steveson. Look, you had brought this up like a year ago
I told you it
that
wasn't going to work.
it was probably not going to work out, and they released him, and the timing of it was kind of awful, right?
So this is what pisses me off, right? Again, it doesn't take much to get JD pissed off about WWE. Here's what pisses me off. Gable gets released last week, right? To me, he's Gable, right? He's Gable Steveson. Like, say what you want about the guy. He's a controversial figure. I'm not going to talk about that. My concern with Gable is as far as the United States goes, right? Gable Steveson is the defending Olympic champion. WWE, Nick Khan, Triple Dipshit, all these guys wait until 2 weeks after the Olympic trials to cut Gable Steveson. These motherfuckers knew. I talked about this with my buddy Pete, Reattack on Twitter. These motherfuckers knew they were going to release Gable Steveson and chose to wait till after the trials to make sure to screw over the US. Mason Paris is good. There's a chance Mason Paris takes bronze, maybe silver. I don't think he's going to win a gold medal. Gable Steveson wins a gold medal, but they had to just make sure because TKO made sure to screw over the United States. Right? Thank you, WWE. Thank you, Triple H. Oh, I'm being like Jimmy Van right now and thanking assholes. Thank you guys for fucking over the US of A. Yeah, pieces of shit.
I don't want to comment here, but we'll just say that one's pretty stiff, North. That's even stiff for me.
Even me, even I think that's a little extreme. I don't think I could take it to that extreme. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button. Make sure you're a subscriber. Make sure you're sharing this, and you can also see the god awful comment that King of the North just made that JD and I won't even say, but I made sure to pull it up on the screen. So
if you're listening to the podcast, go over to the YouTube version and see King's comment because that was it even made Mike and I shut up a little bit. Yeah, man, I'm not happy. Like I told you when this happened. I remember talking to you, me and Garrett when he first got signed. I said this isn't going to work. Gable doesn't have that kind of personality. It's just not him. And like not everyone that transitions from amateur wrestling into professional wrestling is Kurt Angle. Right. And Kurt was way more entertaining than anybody in the amateur world thought he was going to be when he came over. Like nobody saw that coming. Gable has never been that dynamic of a personality, right? He's kind of a dickhead, but not like I'm talking personality wise. I'm not talking about anything else. But he's never struck me as having that kind of charisma. Phenomenal athlete, possibly the greatest U.S. heavyweight of all time. We'll never really know. But I mean, like, and then so I told you, I said this isn't going to work, and I was right. It didn't work. He never quite got it. They spent a lot of money and got nothing in return, really. And they wouldn't let him wrestle. He wanted to go back to college and do another year. They wouldn't let him do it. He wanted to wrestle in the trials. He wanted to wrestle in the U.S. Open. They wouldn't let him wrestle in the U.S. Open. They wanted to wrestle in the trials. They wouldn't let him wrestle in the trials. They had to make sure to deny him everything that he could have done and then cut him after the U.S. Open. Fuckers. Yeah. I will never let that go.
Because if he was able to go, I mean, we're talking.
We win.
We win, right? I mean,
not for sure.
He's the best in our country, probably the best in the world right now, right?
I mean, he had to have a huge comeback in 21 to beat Akul from Turkey. Like there was some controversy too with the way he won the gold medal, but I mean, it was verified on the mat. Freestyle is kind of weird. Is that in freestyle you have 3 officials, right? and they have to come to a consensus, best 2 out of 3 on the call to get the call. So there's a weird call at the end. Like it wasn't terrible, but it was weird. And so a little controversial. So it would have been him. It would have been the two of them. It would have been the Akul from Turkey and Gable. Those are your top 2 guys. And probably Gino Pescivili from Georgia. Those are still your best heavyweights. So he's right there, right? Silver at worst. And now, I mean, Mason Paris is good. Mason Paris will do fine. Gable teched Mason Paris 2 years ago when they wrestled. Mason, like I said, Mason Paris, very good. Not as good as Gable Steveson. So, like, that's what makes me mad. Is like we had a chance from the U.S. We don't even have, because in the Olympics, you just don't get to go. Like we had the Olympic trials a couple of years ago, or excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, and not all the weights are qualified for the Olympics. So like if you go to the World Championships, you can just go and wrestle, and everybody can wrestle in the Worlds. In the Olympics, you have to qualify your weight. So whoever's representing your weight class at certain tournaments, they have to finish in a certain place to make sure your country is represented at the weight. The problem we have in Greco. In Greco, we don't have very many weights qualified right now. So there's a tournament going on in Istanbul this weekend, and it's not going great for the Greco team. My buddy, one of the guy I used to coach, he's now in his 30s. He 8 years ago, he won the spot. He won the trials. He did Joe Rao. I wrote about him for Bike Game. He qualified the spot. No, he did not. He won the spot, but failed to qualify the weight class. So he won the trials, but didn't get to go. Right. Then 21, he qualified the weight class on his own. He got screwed. And when I say he got screwed, like they sued and had to go to arbitration with USA Wrestling because of corrupt officiating, but he did not get the spot in 2021. And that guy got wrecked. So my buddy Joe Rao finally wins this. Finally, he not only did he qualify the weight class, but he secured the spot, and he's finally going to the Olympics at 33. His 3rd Olympics, he's finally secured it. So it's hard, man. It's hard just to qualify your weight for the Olympics. And the fact that we had a guy who's a for sure medalist not wrestle for freestyle, it's mind-boggling to me, and it really disappoints me. I know everyone wants here to listen to my freestyle wrestling thoughts, so I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, coming soon could be coming more, or more could be coming soon to the Patreon. So hopefully here pretty soon. But I think that he's going to go into MMA.
I think so.
And I get the feeling that TKO is very likely to sign him to the UFC, probably even without a fight. Probably just bring him straight to the UFC and give him an opportunity. I mean, he very well could go to like the independent circuit and kind of do a couple one-offs, but I get the feeling the UFC is just going to bring him right in, kind of like they did. I think they did the same thing with Bo Nickel. They brought him in for Dana White's looking for a fight, or what do they call it? I can't remember. Dana White's Contender Series. That's what it's called. Sorry, Dana White's Contender Series. I think they bring him in on doing something like that, and he'll probably be signed right away. So, because he's just like a next level. And Bo Nickel, his last fight wasn't very good, but he is a very good fighter already, and I think he's going to be a champion one day.
Bo Nickel's a hell of a prospect. He's still learning the game. Bo Nickel was good. He was a Hodge winner. Hodge is like our Heisman in college wrestling. Yeah. But Bo didn't have the freestyle accolades that Gable did. Like Bo was good, but Gable is at another level. That being said, is Gable going to transition to MMA? It's not that easy.
No,
right? It's not that easy. Like, can he wrestle some? Can he pass guard? Right. That's critical. Can he strike? That's critical. Right. Daniel Cormier managed to get by mainly. I mean, he got some good jiu-jitsu. I appreciate. I can see that Cormier would like a guy like Steve said. He would 100%.
Yeah. So Cormier really developed his boxing skills.
I
think he was a very underrated striker. Mm-hmm. He never really had the Muay Thai game. Like he never really incorporated a lot of kicks or anything, but his submission game was very good. And his boxing was incredible for a guy that picked it up in like his 30s. Right. So
yeah,
like he was just like he's like Randy Couture. Same thing. Randy Couture started in his 30s, and he turned out to be a pretty good boxer, although he did box in the Army a little bit, but he was predominantly a wrestler. But I see that we're losing numbers, so we'll probably move off of this. But I think that we'll probably see him sooner rather than later in the UFC. So I started off talking about Backlash because I wanted to talk about the presser afterwards, and Triple H essentially embarrassing himself. So they had this French guy ask Triple H a question about the releasing Drew Gulak, right? He released Drew Gulak, and he said that PW Insider and I believe Fightful reported that they released Drew Gulak and it had something to do with Ronda Rousey or something like that. And Triple H got all hot at the guy and said, "You need to find better sources." And he totally shit all over Fightful and PW Insider. They ended up sending Sean Ross Sapp a cheese board of all things, which I
Did
found
they?
to be
Is that a
hilarious.
gag, or they actually send Sean Ross Sapp a cheese board?
They did send him a cheese board because he said the only way I'll accept their apology is if they send me a cheese board. He was making fun of Alfred, and they sure as shit sent him a cheese board. So I found that to be kind of funny. But here's what Lucas said that they told him after he asked his question.
I knew because one of the PR, as soon as I sent my question to Triple H, said to me, "What a dumb thing to do." And so I knew there was going to be backlash online, but I wasn't.
Somebody from
expecting that
WPR
many.
said that was sorry, Lucas. Somebody from WPR said that was a dumb thing to do to ask your question.
Yeah, right after I asked it, he looked at me and said, "What a dumb thing to do."
Legental's a bitch.
Yeah. So that is the WWE. And if you guys wonder why a lot of these podcasters and like the Denise Salcedo types and Chris Van Vliet, when they go over there and they want to just ask, vapid, Joe Lanza used the word vapid. It's my word now, Joe. I'm taking it. I love it so much. I use it at work now. But like a stupid vapid question, that's why they are absolutely afraid to lose access. While at the same time, guys like Brandon Thurston and John Alba and others, I think Houseman when he used to go, he would ask like real questions. But these other folks are thinking that they won't get access anymore. And here's this guy saying, WWE PR told me that's a dumb thing to do to ask that question. And it's very much out there now. So people have been put on notice.
That's what's great. I'm so glad he talked about this. It's funny too, because this happened right at the time when Joe he didn't really blow the lid off it, but Joe's the one who really got the conversation going about what's happening with Legental and the PR team. Right. And they didn't want this. And here's what's funny is that Triple H, this reminded me of the me and my friend Mark conversation. Like I've never seen such thin skin when he gets questions that he doesn't like. Like even Vince would kind of like tap dance around things usually, except for the Costas thing. That was, classic TV. But I mean, like, Triple H, Triple Paul, I'm not going to use what the King said. Like he just does not handle these things well when people don't and here's why is because he's so insecure, right? Yeah. The Triple H era, you guys are calling this now, and not me, I ain't gonna call it that, but that's what you guys want to call it, the Triple H era. Like Cody finished his story, The Rock came back, and somehow that guy made the show all about him, right? Where Cody had to come out and genuflect in front of him. Like he's so shallow. Like for the amount of crap that Tony Khan takes on, this guy is so insecure and doom. He would be building statues in his own if he could get it. Like, and to handle a simple question, that's all that was, is a simple question with so disdain for the past. It's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. But people will still kiss his butt because they like his shows.
Yeah, and the question wasn't even like a crazy question. Drew Gulak had just gotten released. The Ronda Rousey story had broken a couple weeks prior to that. We hadn't seen him on TV since then. I think it was a pretty safe assumption that the Ronda Rousey drawstring comment had something to do with that. Had she not made that comment, he might very well still be in the WWE right now. But they said, no, we didn't fire him. We did not release him. We chose not to extend his contract. Yeah, renew his contract. They're not exactly the same, but it's pretty close to the same thing, right? Like, yes, you didn't fire him, but he's still out of a job today. And would he still have that job had that incident not occurred? I get the feeling that that is the case. And he got so insulted by that. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'll be honest. Like, I don't think AEW or WWE, if they can't put out somebody like in front that is good at these press conferences, I mean, I think they're stupid anyway. They should probably just stop doing them because they're kind of embarrassing at this point, although they do give us content.
Yeah, why would they stop? Why would we say that? Keep doing them.
Yeah.
It's great for our.
Actually, yeah, never mind. Keep doing them.
Yeah, it's great for what we do. stupid they are.
Yeah.
Like that, I agree with you. Nobody is smooth. Like, and you want to put the face of your company out there. Tony used to be better at these things, but now that he's getting actual criticism, he
Yeah.
doesn't handle them real well. Like since the Punk debacle, and they have not gone well. Triple H is he's just so insecure, right? And it's a simple question. And then the story comes out that Gulak was a bully in NXT. Like he would go after people and just was really kind of a dick. And it's just like, oh, okay. Why didn't you just go, yeah, it was time to move on. Or no, we just thought it was time to move, Gulak. Thank you. Is that hard? Is that
Yeah.
hard to do? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like, look, after that occurred, we started hearing other stories, and you know what? Yeah, like you said, JD, time to move on. We don't want that guy around anymore. We're
How hard
moving
is that?
on. Yeah, and but instead he made it like a big deal. Like, had he not answered it the way he had answered it, if
Sorry.
people would have just moved on, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But he had to be a dick about it, and
Mhm.
now we're still talking about it almost a week later.
Because he thinks he's witty. He's never been witty. Like you go back and watch those Attitude Era Raws, he's making like 13-year-old jokes. Like he's not a funny guy and never has been. Like some people can get up there and they can crack jokes and they have that type of personality. That is not him. Never has
No.
been. But people kiss his ass and he has to make sure he has a picture taken with everybody who signs, right? Because it's all about him. It's all about Hunter. It's all about Paul. Like, I
He's
don't
like,
know,
oh,
man.
it makes me so uncomfortable that they say the Triple H era. He continues to talk about the Triple H era.
Bullshit. Yeah, if it did, he would say we're not calling this the Triple H era, right?
Yeah.
But he does because he loves it. He's so shallow.
Yeah, and when I watch Backlash, the then, now, forever, I think that's his voice saying that at the beginning.
Of course it is. Just like remember the NXT shows when we are like every one of them had to start with him in the ring. He had to let you know me, I'm giving this to you. Me. Talk about me, how great I am. I'm going to get a picture taken with Kevin Steen when he comes in here because it's all about me. Like, I cannot find a person, now that the rapist is gone, like, I cannot find a person in professional wrestling that I like less than him. And and again, this wouldn't even be a story if you weren't so goddamn insecure. Mike, I got bad news. We are never going to get our cheese boards.
No, but I guess John Muse is saying that SRS and Mike Johnson got their cheese boards. Mike Johnson went after this Lucas kid from France, and you know what? We were on this show, and we used to say, because we don't really like Dave Scherer. Dave Scherer seemed like he was kind of the enemy because I feel like Dave is kind of in the bag. Dave Scherer is in the bag for WWE. He's doing anti-AEW content in order to get money. We kind of see through what he's doing, and he's got very bizarre behavior on his website. So we were always saying like Mike Johnson was a dignified guy and he should get out of there. But in fact, his behavior the last 2 weeks, one, attacking Dave Meltzer for reporting accurately that Mike Johnson was not allowed into the WrestleMania press conference. And then this week, whenever that kid in France mentions that PW Insider ran a report that Drew Gulak got released instead of his contract did not get renewed, he went after that kid too for false reporting. This guy, Mike Johnson, is a scumbag, big time scumbag. He's right up there with Dave Scherer now.
So I had I don't know if this person wants me to reveal, but I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a journalist, not a friend of yours, Mike, friend of mine who
Wait, he doesn't like me?
You know what I'm talking about. So okay. Think about what I did this week. So like he it's funny, he said that I think a lot of people are starting to understand that Mike Johnson is not so different than Dave Scherer. Just based on us. And I'm like, you're right, dude. You are 100% right.
Yeah, and they've been together for like 25 years, so it makes sense. So I'm like, shit, I was giving Mike Johnson credit all those years, and I really should not have been. He just hasn't been as active on. His public behavior just had not been bizarre yet, but it's very much in there. And he's like, yeah, same guy.
Well, Dave Scheer's mentally, and he puts that on display for everyone to see. Like PW Insider, aside from being like a 1990s era website where if you visit there, like you need a condom to visit the website. You're just gonna get all kinds of viruses just by clicking into it in your browser. Like it's just that whole thing is fucked up, man. Mike Johnson really did a lot of damage to his Q rating, his
credibility.
His credibility. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word, but he got a cheese board. So good for
Yeah,
him.
he got the cheese board. Every time I go to PW Insider, I feel like I'm downloading something from LimeWire or like
Yeah,
Morpheus, like that.
showing our age, man, showing our age.
Showing our age, yeah. So it was discussed. You're the one that sent me this story, so I'll let you talk about it. But Warner Brothers and I believe
Disney.
Disney are looking at a possible Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max merger of the streaming services. I don't know if like they could do a bundle package or do like an all-in-one app or something like that. But that looks like we're gonna get like a super streamer coming here pretty soon.
We've been talking about this for a while. Like on my other show, Superhero Speak, we've been talking about this since about 2019 when the streaming wars really kind of started really cranking up. I said on that show back then, I said we're going to reach peak market saturation, and you're gonna see contraction. And we've been saying that for the last year or so. And this announcement again, Zaslav has been looking for a partner for a long time. He was looking to merge. There were rumors that they were going to merge with Viacom. There were rumors they were going to merge with Comcast. And neither of those really came through. But the idea of them merging Max with Disney, I mean, quite honestly, as a fan, you put AEW on there, everything I want is right there.
Yeah.
Like I got X-Men, I got wrestling, you got movies that I like, some cartoons. Like, I mean, I'm in, I'm on board. It's a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is like cable. Cable's back." It's like cable. The difference is cable had royalties for the creators. The streaming systems really don't. So
Yeah.
it's actually more sinister than that.
Yeah, I think they will eventually, and I think that like Amazon, Peacock, and Paramount will probably end up merging or something like that. And then we'll just have like three mega streamers. We'll have Netflix, and then we'll have the Disney Time Warner, and then we'll have Peacock with Paramount. I think Paramount's probably going out of business here pretty soon. They'll probably get swallowed up by one of them anyway. They're not doing so hot.
I just need them to do Frasier season 2, and they can do whatever as long as they finish Frasier season 2. We're okay.
Well, they need to do another Paw Patrol movie because they've been watching the same two for weeks now. But
so it's funny because like for a generation, right? Our parents' generation specifically, you had ABC, CBS, and NBC. You had the big three, right? Fox challenges that in 86, and now you have 4 networks, and then you have some UHF stations. And then the proliferation of cable kind of rises up. So it seems to me like we're coming full circle. We've gone from 3 networks and then an explosion, and now you're having a contraction, right? And now you're going to wind up, like you said, but I said that too on Superhero Speak a long time ago. We're going to wind up about 3 or 4 big streamers. And that's going to be where we're at. And then you'll have a lot of boutique stuff like your TNA, for example, or your what's that? The horror one that I can't think of at the moment.
Shudder.
Thank you. Yeah, Shudder, stuff like that. So but yeah, this is the future. WWE figured this out a good 2 years ago.
Well, and now that's why. Yeah, and that's why they're moving over to Netflix. I know they're going to still have a presence on cable with SmackDown on USA and a presence on broadcast, but I think eventually all that stuff's just going to go to streaming.
Yeah, I mean, like, why?
Streaming is where it's at. Honestly.
It is.
Yeah.
For now, like it's that was the big and this is the problem too, is the writers and the directors, they signed their contracts, they didn't like where they went, but I mean, like, it's still kind of uncharted territory. Like, we don't have solid reporting and solid numbers coming out of the streamers like we do with cable and with network, quite frankly. So they can't figure out the royalty system, right? It's not great right now. Well, it's just gonna hurt. I mean, it's just gonna hurt the people that are creating these things, and because they live on their royalties.
Yeah, I think eventually they're gonna get it figured out. It's only a matter of time before they get it figured out. And what Peacock and Paramount Plus have done, I'm a subscriber to both. Is they also, like, their linear broadcast network stations are on there. So like you can, if you do the premium version on Peacock, you can get NBC. And so I can just, like, I don't even need cable. I have my cousin's password, but if something happens, like I have like NBC and CBS now, and I'm kind of like good at that point. I won't have Fox though for the NFL, which would suck, but I think eventually, like, they're all going to just be available on streaming. And I'm in a military house, so I can't like install an antenna on my roof right now. But if I have my own house, and a lot of people are doing this, they're going back to having antennas on the roof, so that way they can get if they can just get the local stations and then just bypass cable altogether, and they can just have like these streamers. Like, you might not be able to watch the cable channel live at this point, which I think that's coming eventually. You can get all the shows on demand. So like all the stuff on FX immediately, like by midnight, goes to Hulu. and then all the stuff that's on like USA, except for wrestling, but the stuff that goes on, that's on USA and NBC and all that, like that home, it all like by midnight it goes to Peacock, so you can watch all that stuff. It really is kind of a a cool deal, and that's the future of everything. And so cable is dying a slow death, but it's going to be happening before our very eyes, probably within the next 5 years or so.
Possible. I mean, like I said, I haven't had a cable subscription in 10 years. So I mean, it's lasted longer than I think. And I often wonder how much the pandemic kind of changed just the thing. Right? Like, I think it changed a lot of our consumption habits. It's changed a lot of businesses, the way people went in business. I wonder if this truncated the streaming wars or if this actually breathed life into them. I don't think I know the answer to that question. I'd like to talk to some people that know a little bit more than I do about this. Like, I'm fairly well versed on it, but not a professional or anything. I'd love to see what someone who knows it really thinks about how the pandemic affected this in the long run.
Yeah, I think those studies need to happen, and I think they're going to happen here pretty
Agreed.
eventually. Hey, a couple more topics, and then I just kind of want to toss it to the crew here in the comment section, guys. I see all your comments. I'm going to get to those here pretty soon. I actually see a topic that I really want to take a look at. But so did you see the drunk Flair incident? Like, Flair being drunk and getting kicked out of a bar is not that uncommon. But did you see the video of him getting kicked out?
I did not.
So he was pretty belligerent at a bar and was like threatening a guy, calling him names. One name actually, oh man, I think I tweeted out, but he called him Nicholas Dickhead, which I think like every person in my life that is named Nicholas, that is just now their name. Like this is what I'm gonna call him. He said he was trying to ask him what his name. He said Nicholas. He goes, oh yeah, Nicholas Dickhead. And I was like, yes. And then I think he called him, I don't know if it was trying to be a racial slur, but it certainly came off that way. He called him like an Egyptian. I don't even know what that was supposed to mean. I don't know if the guy was Egyptian. Dude, it was like so bizarre. Anyway, he is drunk and belligerent and being mean, threatening to fight people, being Flair, but it all gets caught on video. And I guess my question to you, and I guess I'll pitch it to the chat too. Should AEW like cut ties with this guy by now? Like this guy, like I don't know, like I know that he's paying to kind of be a part of their company, but it just seems like I don't know, man. Like this week was just like I know that's not it's pretty typical Flair behavior. Like that's what you get, but the video was not cool.
If Flair was on the TV show week after week, I'd say yeah, cut him loose. In reality, he hasn't been part of the show since Greensboro, and that was in February or early March. So
yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do? Use them less than they're using them? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean they're just getting paid to have his logo on the show, the Woo interview or whatever.
Right. And they're getting paid for that. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of backlash. I mean, like, it's Flair. Like, in the grand scheme of Ric Flair stuff, this is pretty minor.
Yeah. I mean, we could question whether or not they should have brought him in to begin with. But I mean, look, he's Ric Flair. But and when you bring Ric Flair, even at his advanced age,
you bring Ric Flair.
You can expect that he's going to get into a drunken altercation, and that people are going to film that, and they're going to be posting that.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, we think can all agree on this. He's an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
This is what happens with that. I got a lot of complicated thoughts on alcoholism, so this is not the forum for me to go into that. But addiction is a problem, and like these are my man.
They're 8 years right there.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Very. My dad never made it to that. So, that's not the time or place for that talk. But that's Ric Flair. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like the chat's starting to blow up. Io wants to talk about another time. Mike headed to his first GCW event in Hawaii in November. Whew, man.
I know why Io suggested put this one. Mike kind of got put in his place a little bit by a guy we kind of bury sometimes on the show. Even I had to tip my cap to old Sean Ross Sapp on this one.
Yeah. I think that was a pretty good line by Sean. So
it was.
Sean Ross Sapp broke the story. He essentially shared the poster for GCW in Hawaii that I'm sure Brett Lauderdale sent him. So, but anyway, he shared the poster, said the GCW is coming to Hawaii in November, and Io tagged me in it. And I said, it's in Waikiki. That's 15 minutes from my house. I'll be there. And Sean goes, well, you better ask tough questions at the press conference. And of course, to which I replied, Brett Lauderdale will never see. We'll never know what hit him. Um, if GCW ever did have a press conference, I would be there, but I don't think that they're actually gonna have a press conference.
It's a
but
great
it would-
gag though. Brett Lauderdale ain't answering no questions about nothing. And second
Yeah.
of all, are you really going to go to a GCW show? You fucking hypocrite.
Oh, I'm a total hypocrite. But I did tell the boys in the Voices of Wrestling Slack channel that look, I'm starved to go to a wrestling show. The people just don't come here, man.
Yeah.
And so if I can get like a couple of indie stars and a couple TNA guys, like I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
I'll go check that out because I just don't get any GCW or I don't get anything out here. So, but I did tell the guys in the VOW Slack, I promised them that if Alley Catch wrestled, I would just go take a shit.
What's the difference?
Yeah, like the same thing is happening. Like she's
Right.
shitting in the ring, I'm shitting in the toilet.
That's
So
fine. God, we're mean. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I've never been to a GCW. GCW, I don't know. I don't know if you get the full GCW experience in Hawaii, but yeah, why not? That's like 50th state wrestling is a thing anymore. Like you don't get a lot of shows out there. So I would too if I were you.
You know, we have an indie company out here and they run like once a quarter, but they run on Thursday nights. And it's only once a quarter and they'll bring in one star. And it's usually like I think like last time it was Mercedes Martinez. And I'm like, okay, you guys gotta do a little bit better than that for me to postpone my show to go to an indie show at a bar downtown on a work night.
What a terrible night to run.
I typically do not do anything on work nights. I just like I'm in bed by like 9:30, so I don't I don't want to go to downtown Waikiki on a work night. But so they typically run late. Yeah, school night. They typically run on Thursday night, so I just have not gone. But if GCW runs a weekend, I'll probably go. But here's the problem: it's like 2 weeks after my son's supposed to be born, so that might complicate things. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll have to work it out with the wife. I'm not going to buy tickets anytime soon. I'm just going to wait and see in like day of if they're still available and like wife is good, like baby's doing good. They don't need any coverage from dad at home. I might just drive down there and go check it out.
I went to a Ring of Honor pay-per-view after Andy's christening. And his christening was 5 hours away from where the pay-per-view was. So I literally finished lunch, wife, I'll see ya, and then drove back to Chicago so I could watch Okada and Moose team up against Michael Elgin and somebody that I forget.
Yeah.
Good show.
All right. Yeah. All right. What else we got in the chat? So this guy RK says you guys need to bring back dumb tweets for the guy. Basically said she got what she deserved because of what she wears. Tweet about the Sky Blue heckler the other night. So I guess Sky Blue got heckled. Like this guy was saying like super like disgusting like sexual comments towards Sky Blue, and I guess he had his kid with him when he was doing that, and he ended up getting kicked out.
Good.
Yeah. So look. And so what the guy made the tweet and he was being an agitator. He was trying to get attention. And unfortunately, that's exactly what he got. So everybody played along. I saw the tweet. I didn't retweet it. I didn't quote tweet. I didn't comment on it because the guy was looking for attention and I'm just above him. But a lot of people fell for it, unfortunately. But this idiot, and he's very much an idiot, said, she's basically the gist of it was, she was wearing super revealing clothing, so she got what she deserved. So, like she was asking for it essentially. And no, that's not the case. She's wearing her wrestling outfit, right? Like you don't get to go and say those things because it's not only about her, like the performer. Because look, people have been saying wild shit to performers for years, but you got kids in the audience around you. You got your own kid. You don't talk like that in public, you idiot. Right, he deserved to get kicked out, and he's lucky he didn't get his ass whooped. Remember this story years ago, where at a Ring of Honor show, I think in like Washington or Oregon, where this one dude was kind of being accused of heckling, I think Angelina Love or somebody like that, and Bully Ray pulled the guy into the back and kind of like intimidated him a little bit, told him not to talk like that, and then he said, "Now go be a fan." I was on Bully Ray's side. I was on Team Bully Ray, and a lot of people said he was out of line for correcting that motherfucker, but I was on his side because I don't think that's appropriate.
No, I agree, and I guess because specifically was Bully Ray, like the internet fans kind of went against it because everything. If you're from the Attitude Era and you say something, everything you say is bad, right? Then it's bad because you're what is the term they use? You're old or something like that. There's a phrase.
Well, and not only that, because Yeah, well, and because ECW, they said like awful stuff back then. So, oh, well, you're a hypocrite because 15, 20 years ago, you said that was okay. People get older and they change and society changes. You got to change along with it. And he was
Right.
telling the guy, that's not appropriate anymore. We're not having it here. And he was being
Mhm.
a locker room leader and protecting his locker room like a real man does. So God bless him.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like, and as a dad who brings his kid to shows, like I can't use that kind of language. I don't use it in my regular life, let alone around my child. Like,
Yeah.
you want to know where scumbag dudes come from? They come from the children of scumbag dudes,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're raising your kid to be a piece of shit. Don't do that, man. As dads, we have to be better. Mike, you're gonna have a son, and it's you're gonna have the responsibility now of trying to rear young men. Like I'm in the same boat, man. It's like you see all these problems and you see this little boy that's a piece of clay and you can mold him. You can choose to make him a better person and a positive force in society. Or you could say, well, this is the way I am. This is the way I was brought up. And you can try to make him the same way that we were growing up. And I think that you and I both agree that the language and the attitudes that people our age and even we had 20 some odd years ago are not good.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want Andy saying the kind of things that I said when I was in my teens and 20s. Right.
No,
So I'm not
no.
going to talk like that around him. And I'm going to teach him we don't think like that. We don't talk like that. We don't try to sound cool, you know? So fuck that guy.
Yeah, yeah. Like, look, somebody, if Twitter was around in like 1999, I get the feeling like if I was tweeting in 1999 and that got brought up today, I'd be done for. I probably wouldn't even have a job with the stuff that I thought was acceptable when I was a teenager. In the late 90s, and honestly, like a huge ECW fan, a huge fan of Howard Stern, and like even Howard Stern, right? Like his show has evolved. He just had Joe Biden of all people, and I'm like, what? I was like, and he's had Hillary Clinton on his show, and I was like, are they
Come
going
a
to write
long
the
way.
Sibian? Right? I was like, are they going to write the Sibian? Like, or are we going to, or what are we doing here? I think they used to play. You know what? I don't even want to say it because they used to play a game with like a ping pong ball coming out of a place. Yeah, we don't even need to talk about that. But like, like Howard Stern has even evolved,
Yeah.
right? To where he is like now has world leaders on his show. We can all grow up at some point. And so just because like you were some way in 1999, that doesn't mean you have to be the same guy in 2024.
So we always talk about in coaching, like if you're teaching the same technique and the same setups and same everything you were doing 10 years ago, you're not growing, right? You don't have that growth mindset. The same rules apply to you, how you choose to live. Sometimes, like you and I have talked about how sometimes we backtrack into stupid stuff that we say, right? We just
Yeah.
sometimes you just slip and you're like, oh man, got to be better than that, right?
Yeah.
And like, but we know it, right? If you make a mistake sometimes and you gotta correct and make, okay, I gotta be better. I didn't mean it. It's just sometimes it's just vernacular, right?
Yeah.
We gotta be better. And like you can't the whole she deserved it because of how she's dressed. I mean, that's rapist justification. Like that's how you
Oh,
sound. Like
yeah.
that's gross.
You're engaging in like rape culture at
That
that
is.
point. Right.
And okay, we're two 40-year-old dudes that are fairly masculine dudes. I don't think anybody could use us for any, we're dudes, like, and we're talking
Yeah.
about like contributing to rape culture. That's a real thing, right? It's dehumanizing of women, and we have to be better than this, man.
Yeah.
We have to be better
Yeah.
than this.
We do. And you know what? And like, I think I remember like in my 20s, someone's like, you're probably gonna have a daughter one day, and you're gonna regret a lot of the stupid things you're saying. I was like, boy, were they right. Because the way I was behaving back then is I'm just like, oh my God. Like if my daughter meets anybody like me from when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, knock him out. You know what I mean? like it's just wild. But yeah, we always, like as King of the North says, we always have to adapt. Absolutely.
It's life.
And I says props to Audrey. Audrey, the referee, immediately for security.
Aubrey.
Yeah, and honestly, I think all of you that rallied against Bully Ray for what he did, I think you guys owe him an apology because he was way ahead of the curve on that one.
Was.
I was really the only one out there on his side during that thing. And then yeah, All right, what else you guys got, chat? Let's see. Lucha Doncic says Mike Santana versus Matt Riddle confirmed for House of Glory Wrestling, according to Dobby in the BFI chat. Dobby breaking news. I don't know if that, I'm sure that's true, but that sounds like a pretty cool match. Mike Santana doing big things out there. Yeah, good for him. Are you all caught up on X-Men 97?
No, I'm 2 episodes behind.
Yeah, me too.
I
think.
had finals.
Yeah. So did the finale happen yet?
Finale was yesterday. So
Finale was yesterday. Okay, so here's what I want to do for next week. Let's catch up and
Okay.
let's do kind of a X-Men 97 kind of like talk about like an overview of the season.
On the free show or on the Patreon show?
Probably Patreon. Let's do
Let's do
Patreon
that-
and then we'll
Let's
just
do that for overtime this week.
Yeah. That'll be our overtime show for next week. Absolutely.
Because it's the best show on TV. I've just, finals and stuff like that have been slimy. The life of a teacher in late May, or May, I should say, little sketchy, little busy. So I love this show so much. I want to talk about it. I need to do a JD Oliva project because I just finished a book that I really liked. And I gotta talk about it because I put like my book recommendations on my Facebook page and 3 people react to it. So I want to get these thoughts out there. Maybe it's better if I just do it here for the people that enjoy listening to our bullshit. So
Yeah. So how was Dynamite last night? So I watched the beginning part of it. I've seen like the first hour, I would say. I have not gotten to Adam Copeland versus Brody King. How was the show overall? And what do we think about the direction that they're heading into as we get into Double or Nothing coming up?
I loved Copeland King. Adam Copeland has become my favorite performer. I think he's done a fantastic job adapting to AEW. We had talked to a friend of ours who doesn't like the House of Black stuff, and I can't disagree with it. I mean, they've straddled the spooky line. No one's got maybe sometimes, I don't know. There's no one that has magic powers. I'm of the mind that if you get misted and you're a piece of shit to begin with, it's just just you're a piece of shit. So I try not to think of it as magic. I think of it as just it's a justification for being an asshole. As far as the creative direction of the show right now, I will say this. I enjoyed the work rate of Harley Cameron and Mariah May quite a bit. Good wrestling. Enjoyed it. I'll be honest, man. I think the show's flat right now. I think we're in a creative lull. I think Tony Khan, my honest opinion, I think Tony Khan's burnt out.
Yeah.
I think he's burnt out creatively.
Yeah, we discussed it on Overtime on Sunday that he was kind of burnt out. And I'll be honest, and maybe I'm just a little bit burnt out because I had the opportunity to watch the whole show last night. I did. I had the TV to myself for like 2.5 hours, maybe almost 3 hours, because my wife and kid were doing other activities, and then my wife put my kid down to bed, and then she immediately went to bed right after that. So I had the time, but I was catching up on X-Files reruns. like I was like, I really should watch Dynamite. So I got up at 4 this morning to go for my run. I'm training for my fitness test in a couple weeks. I'm getting pretty close to where I want to be. And so I immediately got back and I watched the first hour of it. And then after we get off the air here, I'll finish it. I did see the ratings. Looks like the ratings were up a little bit. So I guess that's a pretty good sign. The demo god himself lost viewership significantly, I guess.
Speaking of burnt out.
Yeah, speaking of burnt out, I think we've talked about this before. I think it's time for Jericho to go away for a while.
I agree. I've said a couple weeks
ago. Yeah. He needs to go away. He needs to get himself back in shape. And that's not me fat shaming. You can just tell the difference between an in-shape Jericho and an out-of-shape Jericho. Mm-hmm. And right now the guy is out of shape. And I think that's a fair comment to make because he's an athlete. And so you can say that about athletes. The guy is just out of shape right now. And you can tell he's probably running a little bit too hard, and he's in his 50s. And so it's probably time to go away for a little bit and come back. And in fact, I actually sent a message to King of the North last week because Matt Hardy looks great. He's got abs, in the best shape of his life. And I sent him a message like, hey, Matt Hardy's looking better than Jericho is right now, dude. Cause he's been giving me crap about Hardy being in TNA. But I just don't know. I don't think this learning tree thing is working for me with Jericho, but I'm with you. I think, it might not be drawing big ratings and big money, but I like the Adam Copeland stuff. I think he's great.
Me
You know
too.
what? And like he's a guy that was a WWE system guy for 20 years, and he's finally out of the system, and he's like getting to do all this cool, new, exciting stuff in like the twilight of his career. Kind of made me wonder like what it would look like if like a Randy Orton or somebody like that, like it ventured over and did some AEW stuff. Like I know Randy Orton's probably never going to do that because of the whole Jacksonville Dixie thing that happened, but just somebody like that. I think it's kind of cool seeing him in this environment and what he's able to do.
Like I said before, I've been on board with this Copeland thing from the whole time. Like, I didn't like his WWF stuff where he was WWE stuff where he's sitting there and monologuing and doing the thing in the chair. But that worked for that audience, and I respect him for understanding the differences of the audience, right? And his work is really good right now. Like
Yeah.
I just enjoy watching him work, and like he comes across like a star, and he's never been a big draw. Like it's just throughout his whole career, he's a great guy to have, and I think him playing like the locker room, like he is the guy that CM Punk claimed he would be, right?
Yeah.
Locker room leader, helping people out. I don't want to be in the main event. All these young guys, like Adam Copeland's actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that I just like this run. And he's not in a position where he has to be the guy who draws. They'll put him in some main events with some TVs, but I mean, that's like it. And that's fine. I mean, like, you need a guy that you can put in a TV main event on occasion that can do good pay-per-view matches that people have a connection to. They're always going to pop when they hear Ridge. I think he's been a fantastic pickup for this company. I bought the Pure Plank, for sakes. What a great device, by the way.
Yeah. You know what I'm not really feeling either, is the Orange Cassidy Trent Beretta thing. And I was like interested at first because I've just never been interested in Trent Beretta, but I was like, you know what? Let me see what this guy can do as a heel. Let me just see. And I think I've seen enough. I think I'm kind of over it already. The match was okay. They did some brawling and stuff like that, but and the angle afterwards, I just didn't find to be very good. I think the bringing in Don Callis, I don't know if it helps or hurts it. I'm probably gonna take a wait and see approach, but I think that whole thing is just kind of cooled off for me.
I agree. I like Trent's work, but that's always been the thing. Is Trent's a good work, but I mean, like his charisma is just goofy, right? Which is why the best friends kind of work. But it's comedy stuff. Like you can't ever like push him. Like Orange Cassidy is special, right?
Yeah.
Like he is comedy, but he can also, when he gets going, it's really good. That's the Orange Cassidy gang. Always has been. I think Orange kind of needs to go away a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like there's been nothing
he's-
added to him since losing the international belt, or it was the international belt. Like he's felt very flat. Like I'll be honest, man. I think he's burnt out creatively right now.
Yeah, I think he's burnt out creatively, and I think Joe and Rich brought this up on their show last week, that they're not pushing the right people. Like Will Ospreay's going for like the whatever title, the international title, and
is he?
Mercedes Moné should be absolutely challenging Tony Storm, and then eventually defending the title against Willow versus going for the TBS title. Like nobody, like what are we doing? You know what I mean? And then Okada is. I don't really mind Okada Continental Champion, but I kind of like the fact that Christian's kind of a weak challenger for Swerve. You kind of almost want like Okada in that position, but then again, you don't want Okada to lose, so there's that issue. Like the whole thing just seems like kind of a mess. Heading into Double or Nothing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The company is a mess right now. Like we were in a good spot coming out of Revolution into Dynasty. Things were looking pretty good. Post Dynasty, it's a disaster right now. Like they're not pushing the right people. Like Tony, he's off. Like and Rich put it really good on their show last week, where it's like, excuse me. I see what the elite is doing right now, and they're doing it well. But, and I agree with Rich. You said, like, I just don't want to see control of the company storylines from AEW, because we saw that for 20 years in WWF and WWE, and we saw it in WCW, and
TNA.
In TNA, and I want the company to be in control of the company. I just want wrestlers to wrestle for titles. Like I don't give a flying fuck who controls the company. I don't care who's got the power to make matches. Like that's not the sports based stuff that I wanted. I really think this is what I'm talking about. I think that And again, every time someone from WWE gets released, people go, "Oh, you got." I love your jokes. Like, "Oh, they got to hire this mailroom guy from WWE." I mean, who else knows how to sort the mail? Like,
Yeah.
I, just, I just want something different, and they're not doing it. I'll say this: Jack Perry's been pretty good since coming back. All of a sudden, he knows how to cut a promo.
Yeah, I think Jack Perry's doing very good.
Mhm.
I like the matchmaking for the Elite versus Team AEW. The problem is
Roman,
they're calling it Team AEW.
it's so uninspired.
It's like they
That's
all work for
so
AEW.
Yeah, it's so that's like it's very something WCW would have done. Like it's just I went, really? Team
Oh, JD,
WCW?
this is
What?
gonna warm your heart. We got a super chat, and the super
Ooh.
chat is burying Triple H. So
Oh,
my new favorite listener, uh, Glassdoor
Glassdoor
Gamer. He's
Gamer.
got a Mario avatar. He said, no one was excited to talk about Triple H in the Attitude Era. Most overrated, boring POS. Creatively, he sucked when NXT went to 2 hours. Great show.
Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
Glassdoor Gamer. I completely agree with you because NXT, I would say from 2014 to 2017, when it was just 1 hour a week, was my favorite wrestling show. It really
Me too.
was. And
Me
there's a
too.
lot of stars from that era that like some of them are like available like right now. Like Sanity is like out there, and I'm like begging TNA to pick up Sanity because I just thought that was such a cool faction. Eric Young is already in TNA. You got Sanity out there working indies are back as a tag team. So and then I went to the I think it was 2015, the big San Jose show, like the first ever takeover that they did, like their first big show outside of Orlando. I was there and they had so many cool matches and so many like it was just like an awesome thing to be a part of. But once they went to 2 hours and once they decided they were going to try to take on AEW and they failed miserably, the show has really sucked and it has not really been that great ever since. We have not had like an amazing takeover special because those takeover specials were basically like what people are saying about AEW pay-per-views right now. That was takeover specials back then. And they were always awesome.
Hey, that's $5 Canadian too. So thank you very much.
Yes.
That's more than $5. Can you please pull up King of the North tweet comment because that made me laugh.
Yeah.
King of the North says JD's face lighting up. No one someone paid to bury Triple H. Bought me so big. The King just gets me, man. He just gets me.
Yes. I'm gonna put Glassdoor back up. But JD, comment on the burial of Triple H and the downfall of NXT.
What more can I say that hasn't been said? This is 100%. So I'll be honest with you, the Reign of Terror chased me away from being a fan of WWE because there's nothing more boring than Triple H cosplaying Ric Flair. Like Evolution was a knockoff Horseman. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that interesting. It was a terrible era in WWF. Watch those shows. They're Triple H just, I don't know, man. I've never gotten it. I never understood. Like in the Attitude Era, we had Rock and Austin, these generational performers. You had, Chris Jericho and like these guys from WCW, and I hate to say it, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. Like these guys were in, they were so good. And then there was Triple H, this big juiced up dude who like he worked hard, but I mean, like, I don't know, like I never watched a Triple H match and went, God damn, this dude. Never, not one time. Like the
Yeah.
walk-in brawls are boring. I just don't get it. I never understood.
The first pay-per-view I ever went to was Fully Loaded 1998 in the Selland Arena in Fresno, California. And the co-main event of that show was Triple H, DX era Triple H, so 1998, versus Nation of Domination era The Rock. That was the co-main event.
I remember that.
It was best 2 out of 3 falls match, and I loved that match. And then they had a ladder match the next month, and then
Right.
quick, and I thought that was pretty good as a Madison Square Garden. I think the crowd heat probably made it even better.
Mhm.
And then after that, everybody just started to skyrocket, and he was getting left behind. Stone Cold was already a megastar at that point, and The Rock becomes a megastar. Mankind is like over like crazy in 1998. Undertaker starts getting more over, and Triple H is getting left behind, and he's kind of like forcing his way in there. And that's where the criticism of him becoming Stephanie's boyfriend, and then and that's not to say that the guy's not talented. He is. Like the guy can work, and the guy has some charisma. His promo ability has never been great, but he's like a passable promo. You know what I mean? And so whenever Austin and Rock left, they left Triple H as the top guy. And that was a massive failure. And business declined greatly year over year over year over year. And they could not wait to get John Cena into that position. So if you go back and look at it, like 2003 to like 2006 was just the reign of terror that you're talking about. And then finally they handed over the reins to John Cena. And I was not a John Cena fan, to be honest with you. I just wasn't. But they just could not wait to get it over into John Cena's hands. So that took, it was necessary because Triple H was essentially killing business and driving people away. John Muse says, you could do a show on AEW booking and ways to improve. You know who should come onto that show and do that?
I was going to say, you could do a show on AEW booking and ways to improve, my friend.
Yeah. John Muse, you're welcome on the show. And I would love that. I would love that.
We've been bugging you to do that for years.
Yeah. Hold on. Glassdoor Gamer sent us another 5 spot. Thank you, sir. He said that Rock promo about Triple H tonight. I am going to say absolutely nothing for 20 minutes. It's still valid. His pressers are the same. Yeah. Like he did the same, like, I'm the game. I'm in charge. And my wife has knockers.
She does have knockers. Yes, that is true. The game. I hate him so much. Like you know what's funny about WWF booking is it was such a babyface territory from Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Backlund, Hogan, Bret Hart, Steve Austin. One heel dominated that company for years. One, Triple H. I'll never get it.
Yeah.
I'll never get it.
Until Roman Reigns, right? But because Triple H was such a Flair fan, he tried to turn WWE into Crockett, and WWE just could not capture that. You know what I mean? And he tried to become Ric Flair. In fact, he did Evolution and Knockoff of the Four Horsemen, had Ric Flair in the group. Now it stunk for the most part, but like don't get mad at me, but I really liked the Batista feud.
Well, that's fine.
I personally did. Yeah. I thought they did that very well.
Do you know why? Because Dave Batista freaking rules. That's why he's a major motion picture star.
Yeah,
the star. Because he's awesome. Of course, that was great. I agree with you 100% on that. Batista freaking rules. So, but it wasn't Triple H. Drax is great, man. And remember, they weren't going to push. Remember, like he wanted to do stuff, and Triple H is such a genius. He's like, nobody's going to go see that Guardians movie. Fucking moron.
King of the North says Mike is a big nose ring spot fan. I was a big fan of that nose ring. You know what I'm talking about, JD?
No, I don't
So a couple of years ago, it was probably several years ago, they were doing this big celebration for Ric Flair's 70th birthday. And at the end of the episode, when Flair was supposed to come down, all the wrestlers in the ring, they're going to welcome Flair down for the 70th birthday. And then Batista comes out of nowhere, had not been on Raw in years, attacks Triple H.
Yeah.
And then during the match, so they did Triple H versus Batista. I think that might have been Triple H's last match. It was one of his last matches.
Yeah.
During the match, they pulled the nose ring out, and I love that, and I'll tell you why. Because nose rings are not allowed in the Air Force. They're not allowed. They are not. And so we had somebody recently that was at work in uniform with a nose ring in, and somebody texted me, said, hey, so-and-so from this section has got a nose ring in. Can you handle it? And I went and told that member supervisor, I said, you tell her to take that nose ring out right now, or I'm coming down with pliers and I'm taking them out for her. She never wore the nose ring again. So I'm a big fan of the nose ring spot. I love that because I am like on a nose ring hunt for people in uniform with nose rings. I'm out to get them.
That's a hell of a threat.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
They also knew that I was full of it. I wouldn't actually do that, but
no, you have to threat though. That's a great threat. That's a dad threat.
Yeah.
Guy with a nose ring, not a good look at all. Really quite stupid. Girl with a nose ring, kind of a fan.
Yeah, well, but I thought that was part. Yeah, I know. I thought that was part of the heat, though. For
Dave. That's why it worked.
Ridiculous what they blew nose ring.
Yeah, that's why it worked. Totally worked. Like that's in the spot. Like, no, totally worked just fine. I'm just saying. Girl with a nose ring, it's a good look.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna close up. I'm gonna get to these last chats. John, you said we'll figure something out. Hey, look, you open the door, brother. We're gonna annoy you until you come on.
Yeah, hey, we have your phone number. Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
I might just I figure out a way to just call him live on the air and just put him on.
Yeah, we'll sandbag our buddy.
Glassdoor Gamer says
Triple H is not going to last. You know what's going to happen if he gets fired from WWE? They're going to hire him to book AEW. I just know that.
Yeah,
because that's my luck.
Yeah.
That's how that's going to happen.
Look, we can say whatever we want about it. Like right now, him and Nick Khan and Lee Fitting, they're actually like doing a pretty good job. Right?
Yeah, the company.
They're on fire right now. So I don't think, as long as they're on fire and he doesn't get in trouble, I think he's not going anywhere. But I would not be surprised if stuff comes out about him too. But I'm not going to say anything more than that. Yeah.
Io says I slept off during Raw. I don't know what that means.
It means he fell asleep during Raw.
Oh, I do. I fall asleep during Raw all the time. It's a boring ass show.
And Glassdoor says once the crowd turns on him, it's inevitable because WWE fans are fickle. That's true. He is going to be gone. I think if business starts to decline, they would probably end up getting rid of him. But I honestly, I think the guy's cemented in there.
I agree.
You know, he's going to be in there as long as humanly possible. Someday I'll be as popular as Ibu, and I'll get on the Mike and JD show. You got a welcome invite, brother.
Yeah, open door.
Next time we'll do a call-in show here pretty soon. We almost talked about doing that since we had no format. But when I do a call-in show, I want to give everybody advance notice so they can be prepared. And so we'll try to do a call-in show, and I'll make a plan of it. I'll advertise it. And King of the North, you'll be on the show. I want to get you on, and then I want to get Ibu back on here. I'm sure he's got a lot going on. It's been a while since we talked to old Ibu.
Yeah.
And then he said JD and I can bury Triple H for an hour. Hell, you guys can just do a full show burying Triple H.
I would look very forward to that.
Yeah.
Never gonna get that cheese board. Never. All right, guys. I think that is going to do it for us this time. I really, really appreciate you guys. Go to the patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. Please support the show. Give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you're a subscriber. Lay down a comment and share the show. And then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to share the show there. Give a 5-star review. Let Joe and Rich know that you like the show. I'd really appreciate it because eventually they're going to start paying us a lot of money. And we're just going to I'm going to retire from the military. And JD's going to quit teaching, and we're just going to live off being able to talk to our friends on the internet. That's the dream one day. Not going to happen. I was going to say, what are you on, my friend?
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Amen. No rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your